my tournament was unremarkable compared to everything else that happened. Besides Magnus winning, of course, there was this very, very famous uh, Jan Nepomniachtchi and Daniil Dubov game.
The Dance of the Knights, yes.
Yeah, which ended in a double forfeit, very rare occurrence.
Hmm.
Not unprecedented. It was something that you could actually expect because I've seen other examples of this, not at the very highest level, but two players play a game which is decided by whoever's in charge, which is very often the arbiters. I think it usually is arbiters who make this decision. That the game kind of puts chess into disrepute or whatever their terminology is for this. But basically, what happens is they decide that the players have not respected the game and therefore don't get the point that is usually shared in a chess game. And that's what happened. It was actually pretty potentially, you could argue, important for the tournament standings because if you look at the final standings, well,
Wasn't
Dubov was
Dubov
second
like half
place.
a point behind Magnus?
In
Basically,
the final
that half a
standings,
point in the final
it was
standings. Yeah,
half a point. Yeah, of course, you can definitely say, well, the tournament goes entirely differently, right?
of course.
I mean, it's that wasn't the end of the tournament. Like that wasn't the last round. So all sorts of things could have happened, could have changed depending on that game. But yeah, if you look at the final standings, it's a pretty important half point.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened was they kind of agreed to this sort of night, the silly night dance, which is it's they said it's a protest, sort of against the conditions, against the fact that there was like a 1 hour plus delay
Yeah.
due to a totally ridiculous thing. I mean, Andrew Hong was playing Yu Yang Yi, and this is just like the reason for the delay.
Hmm.
And Hong made a move, pressed the clock, but apparently didn't press it hard enough, and his time ran out because he didn't realize that the clock actually didn't start for his opponent. It stayed running for him. And then he claimed that he had pressed the clock, and he filed an appeal. This was all dealt with during the round. So I mean, during the middle of the tournament day. So everyone was left waiting for like an hour. There's not much you can do about it. I mean, I think it should have been handled faster because, I mean, with all due respect to Andrew, and I think he's a nice guy, and I know him a little bit, and it's nothing wrong with filing an appeal if you think that you're in the right. But I mean, unless there was like some video evidence that he absolutely did press the clock and there was a malfunction, which there wasn't, then you have to just like rule against him very quickly
Yeah. Yeah. No,
because he
absolutely.
actually ran out of time. So that's my take on it. Okay, the players were a little bit annoyed. Dubov and Nepo decided to make this little protest, which whatever, it's their choice if they want to make a protest. Um, but I don't think it was very effective.
Hmm.
I don't really see the benefit from this. Like, uh, hey, you're protesting something. It's not exactly clear what you're protesting. That they took too long for an appeal. Protesting that Magnus got a private room, or something like that. But this is obviously not going to have any positive effect. It's just a distraction from everything, right? If
Hmm.
you want to protest, you just say, okay, these things were wrong, and I'm uh, sort of complaining officially about it and so on.
Yeah.
Anyway, not
Yeah,
very
no.
important.
Well, I actually talked to Andrew, and he was making his case that the clock malfunctioned. I mean, this is a world championship. You should have the measures in place to check these things quickly. I understand there's a lot of boards, and it would require quite some resources to, let's say, put cameras on all of the boards. But I mean, I'm sure you can fund, I don't know, fee they can fund, especially for this tournament, and they can take it from one year to the other. I don't know, buy a few webcams and put it next to each and every board. I'm sure it would even turn a profit for them by simply showing the games later on their YouTube. Things, very simple things that can be implemented and that can just eliminate this type of protests and this type of situations altogether. It would be very easy to just watch it on camera, see whether it malfunctioned. Because I've seen clocks that malfunction, actually. I've seen clocks that if they don't have enough battery, sometimes they don't record the move, or they just simply turn off. A lot of things, a lot of times, clocks have turned off in the middle of the game, and then you have to kind of gauge, okay, how much time did I have? How much time do you remember we had? If you don't have a camera going on, then you're not going to be able to be precise. So yes, especially due to the fact that it's such an important event, I feel like we should have these measures in place. We have them for all the private events. We have them for, the GCT events, or the Champions Chess Tour events. There's always going to be a camera pointed at the board, but at the same time, there's fewer boards in the World Championship. There's like, what, 150 boards? Like, how many players were there?
To be honest, I don't remember exactly how many boards there were,
Quite a few.
but yeah, it's quite a few
Quite a few.
boards.
Yeah, it's an investment, but I feel like it should be done, especially given, let's say, the propensity for these things to happen, especially in Blitz and Rapid.
Yeah, in Blitz and Rapid, anything can happen. It's not like it's anyone's fault. Obviously, Yu Yang Yi wasn't at fault. Hong was just arguing his case.
Mm-hmm.
As I wouldn't have done it personally, because I would think, okay, it's a half point, and then you waste an hour energy, and it's in the middle of the tournament. It's not like at the end when maybe you're fighting for medals. It's like right in the middle, and half point isn't probably going to change your tournament too much, because you'll play someone a bit weaker, and then you're more likely to get a full point. And so I would have just accepted the decision and moved on. That would be, but I understand if you want to fight it, especially if it's a matter of principle to you, you think you're right. Okay, that's your choice as well.